All right, today we are cracking the code on a huge puzzle: employee loyalty. There's some fascinating new research that uncovers a really surprising reason why people decide to stay in their jobs. And I'm going to bet it's not what you think. So, if I asked you why good people leave their jobs, your mind probably jumps to the usual suspects, right? The pay isn't great, they have a nightmare boss, or there's just no path forward. And yeah, of course, those are all massive factors. But for this explainer, we're going to push all of that aside to dig into something deeper. What if the real key to keeping an employee happy isn't just about what happens to them inside the office walls? What if it's about how they see their company behaving out in the wider world? I mean, how could something like a company's charity drive create a bond so strong that it actually stops someone from quitting? Well, that is the mystery we're solving today. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our game plan. First, we'll set up the employee retention puzzle. Then, we'll uncover our first big clue. It's what you see. After that, we'll unpack the core idea here, the Pride to Stay pathway. We'll look at how it was tested in 4 different studies. And then, we'll wrap up with why all of this really matters for you. So let's start with the puzzle itself. You know, keeping good people on board is one of the single biggest challenges for any company. And when employees decide to leave, it is a huge, expensive headache. I mean, think about it. Every single time a talented employee walks out the door, the company's performance takes a hit. They have to spend a ton of money and time on retraining someone new, and the morale of the team that's left behind, it can totally crater. So yeah, cracking this loyalty code is incredibly valuable. And this brings us to our first major clue, which is honestly a game changer. The researchers behind this argue that when it comes to how an employee feels, what a company actually does is way less important than what its employees think it does. It's all about perception. Now, the kinds of actions we're talking about here fall under this big umbrella called corporate social responsibility, or CSR for short. This is stuff like launching environmental programs, organizing employee volunteering days, or making donations to local communities. It's basically a company's effort to be a good citizen. Okay, this is the key distinction. On one side, you have objective CSR. That's the official stuff, the numbers in the annual report that, let's be honest, most employees have never even seen. But on the other side, you have perceived CSR, and that's just what you believe your company is up to. This research says that's the one that matters. Your perception is what shapes your feelings and, ultimately, your decision to stick around. And this isn't just some business school fad. It's grounded in a core principle from psychology. It's our interpretation of an event, not the event itself, that triggers our emotions. So a company could donate $1 million, but how you feel about it completely depends on whether you see it as a genuine act of good or just a cynical PR stunt. Your perception becomes your reality. So if an employee's perception is the trigger, what's the next step? Well, the researchers mapped out this incredible psychological chain reaction, a kind of domino effect that they call the Pride to Stay pathway. And here it is, the whole domino effect laid out. It's a beautiful, logical flow. First, you perceive your company is doing good things. That triggers the emotion of pride. That feeling of pride then strengthens your attitude, making you feel really connected or rooted. And that connection directly influences your behavior. You become way less likely to quit. It's this powerful journey from seeing good to feeling good to staying put. Let's zero in on that first emotional domino: organizational pride. This isn't just some abstract idea. It's that genuine pleasure, that feeling of self-respect you get when you can say, yeah, I work there, and actually feel good about it. Seeing your company act morally sends this powerful signal that you're part of something good and successful, and that directly boosts your own pride. And that pride is what creates this deep-rooted feeling of embeddedness. This is the point where leaving your job would feel like a genuine personal loss, almost like you're cutting away a part of who you are. That is the psychological glue that keeps you from even looking at other job postings. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds like a really neat theory, but does it actually hold up in the real world? Well, the researchers didn't just dream this up. They put it to the test, rigorously, across 4 different studies. Let's see how they did it. First up, they ran an experiment. They wanted to see if they could actually cause these feelings of pride and embeddedness in a lab setting. So they had people read about 2 different fictional companies. One was a superstar of CSR. The other, not so much. The result? It was crystal clear. The people who imagined working for the high CSR company reported way more pride and felt significantly more connected. This was their first big piece of evidence. Okay, so that worked in a lab.
But what about with actual employees in real jobs? For the next 2 studies, they took this model into the field, surveying hundreds of employees and their bosses to see if this pathway could predict who would actually quit 6 months down the line.
And this is where a really fascinating twist popped up. For non-managerial employees, the pathway was perfect. Every domino fell exactly as predicted. But for managers, one link in the chain broke. CSR still made them proud and embedded, but that feeling of being embedded didn't stop them from leaving. The theory is they're probably already connected to the company in so many other ways. And for the final study, they tracked employees for more than a year. This confirmed that this isn't just a one-time thing. It's a living, breathing process. As an employee's personal perception of their company's CSR improved over time, their own feelings of pride and connection went right up along with it. So we've seen the theory and the evidence. What's the big takeaway here? What does this actually mean for leaders trying to build great teams and for employees who are just trying to build a career they love? Okay, if you're a manager, the message is loud and clear. Start thinking of CSR as a serious tool for keeping your best talent, not just some fluffy PR move. But remember, the most amazing program in the world means nothing if your team doesn't know it exists. Perception is everything. You have to shout about these efforts from the rooftops because that's what builds the pride that ultimately creates loyalty. And if you're an employee, this gives you a totally new lens to look at your job through. A company's social impact isn't just window dressing, it's a real signal about its core values. So start paying attention to how its actions make you feel. Does what they do make you proud? Because finding that pride is a huge and, honestly, an often overlooked part of building a career that actually feels fulfilling. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Is your company just going through the motions, just checking the doing good box? Or is it actively building a culture where employees can see those good deeds, feel that genuine pride, and, as a result, become deeply and loyally connected to their work? The answer to that question might just be the real secret to keeping its best people around. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.